Rain sizzled as it hit the metal hull of the downed alien ship. The jungle around it steamed from the recent fire, vines curling like smoke tendrils over the twisted wreckage. Nolan Carr, ex-mechanic of Earth's failed Mars colonization program, knelt beneath the burned wing plating, flashlight clenched in his teeth and fingers stained with lubricant. He hadn't expected anyone to answer the distress signal he'd picked up 2 days ago. Certainly not her. The alien woman had arrived in a shuttle that crash-landed only a few hundred meters from his makeshift outpost. She looked mostly humanoid, but her skin shimmered a pale opal blue, and her silver eyes glowed like twin moons under the canopy's shade. She wore regal armor, even shattered and scorched, it gleamed with authority. She hadn't told him her name. Only that she needed the ship repaired and quickly. That had been 4 nights ago. Now, drenched in sweat and grime, Nolan finally connected the last energy conduit to the main power core. With a trembling exhale, he tapped the ignition module. The ship hummed. Slowly, lights blinked back to life. He leaned back on his heels, brushing soaked hair from his eyes. That's it. You're good to fly, well, mostly. I wouldn't try anything more than low orbit until the stabilizers are. A hand touched his shoulder. He flinched. She stood behind him, her alien armor now stripped down to a tunic of woven silver threads. Her eyes locked with his, an intense, unreadable stare. Then, surprisingly, she smiled. You fixed it, she said, her voice melodic, tinged with something that made his pulse tick faster. Yeah, well, it wasn't that broken, he muttered. Her smile deepened. You saved me. You don't even know who I am. He wiped his hands on his jumpsuit. Doesn't matter. You needed help. She looked away for a moment, as if gauging something invisible in the air. Then she gave a short bow, stiff, awkward, ceremonial. I am Queen Virelia of the Van Dominion, she said. Your actions have placed you under the protection of the royal court. Nolan blinked. Wait, Queen. She stepped closer. And I owe you a debt. He lifted both hands, backing away. No need. Just, go home. Get safe. But she only tilted her head. You assume safety awaits me. My people sent assassins. They destroyed my escort vessel. I barely escaped. If I fly this alone, they'll find me in orbit. Nolan felt the weight of her words settle on his shoulders. So, what do you want from me? To come with me, she said simply. He laughed. No offense, Your Majesty, but I fix old engines and cook instant soup. I'm no bodyguard. You're alive. Clever. Unaffiliated. You have no galactic alliances. You are unexpected. That is valuable. Nolan hesitated. He'd left Earth to escape everything. War, corruption, responsibility. But the look in her eyes wasn't just desperation. It was defiance. I'll think about it, he said. She nodded once, then turned and strode into the jungle mist, heading back to the temporary shelter he'd built for her near the ruins of her pod. That night, rain returned in sheets. Nolan slept beneath patched tops strung between ancient trees. Thunder echoed, distant but relentless. He dreamed of burning skies, of silver eyes watching from shadows. And then, he awoke. A soft weight pressed against his side. Nolan blinked in the dark. At first he thought it was a fever dream, but then her scent hit him, clean, sharp, alien. Queen Virelia lay beside him, curled under his spare thermal blanket. Her armor was gone. Her breath slow and deep. His mouth opened, then closed. Virelia. She stirred, not startled. I couldn't sleep, she said softly. Your presence is calming. He sat up, mind racing. You're a queen. Shouldn't you have a throne room somewhere? Or, I don't know, guards? She opened her eyes. Those are the things they tried to kill me for. Silence settled between them. Outside, the jungle hissed with rainfall. I don't belong to your world, she murmured. And you don't belong to theirs. Perhaps that's enough. Nolan stared at the ceiling of leaves. You could have slept in your shelter. You repaired my ship. That was mechanical. She paused. But you also saw me, injured, afraid, and you stayed. That is not mechanical. He had no answer for that. Eventually, her breathing evened. Sleep claimed her again. He did not sleep for a long while. By morning, the storm had cleared. Virelia was already dressed when Nolan stepped out of his top shelter. She stood beside the repaired ship, wind catching her hair, watching the sky with attention he didn't understand until a moment later. A sharp whistle pierced the air. Then came the dropships. 4 of them. Nolan dove behind cover, heart hammering. Virelia didn't move. The first ship landed hard, kicking up soil and smoke. Armored figures emerged, sleek, black, faceless. They moved in tight formation. Virelia of Varn, a voice echoed from a translation drone. You are charged with treason and unlawful survival. Surrender and your death will be painless. Nolan hissed. Hell of a welcome. She glanced at him, voice cool. They expect me to run. Well, we can't exactly fight them. She smiled faintly. No. But we can outwit them. She tapped a bracelet on her wrist. The repaired ship's hull shimmered. Panels moved. Then the Queen's voice rang out, deep and amplified. Soldiers of the Black Crit, I am still your queen. Kneel or fall. The soldiers raised weapons. Bad call, Nolan muttered. From the trees, Varnian loyalists appeared, dozens of them in cloaking armor, unsealing visors and aiming sleek rifles. They'd been hidden in stasis pods Nolan had dismissed as inert cargo. The air trembled with tension. Then the first shot fired. Battle erupted like a storm. Nolan pulled Virelia down just as a plasma bolt scorched a tree trunk above their heads. Around them, the jungle lit with weapons fire, screams, and chaos. One of the Black Crit soldiers charged toward Nolan. Before he could react, Virelia stepped between them, drew a curved blade from her hip, and struck. The soldier fell. I thought you were royalty, Nolan gasped. I am, she said. But I never said I was gentle. When the battle ended, the loyalists stood victorious. The jungle was torn, but the Queen remained. She turned to Nolan, chest heaving. You saved my life again. He looked around. I didn't do much. You were here. That is more than most. The largest of her guards stepped forward and knelt. The throne is yours once more, my queen. Virelia looked at Nolan. Only if he comes with me. He gaped. What? You said you didn't belong anywhere. Let me give you somewhere to stand. Nolan looked at the wreckage. At the sky. Then at her. And smiled. All right, he said. Let's see what a throne room looks like. She took his hand, fingers warm despite the blood and smoke. Together. The ship rose into the sky minutes later, with a human mechanic in the co-pilot seat and an alien queen beside him, no longer alone. And far above the jungle, stars awaited.